So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you listen to this. This is Match Bailey alongside my critic and partner in crime, Ricardo Medina.
Hola, 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 everyone.
And this is another episode of Bears, Beats, and Bailey. At the time of this recording, sorry, it is St. Paddy's Day.
Right.
Yes, and the closest thing I got to drinking anything green was a Monster Energy drink because I've some Tomb Raider had a beat by the 2013 one,
Awesome.
not the
Right.
PlayStation one. I'm trying to beat that in time for Tomb Raider's release down here in
Right.
Trinidad, which will
Yeah.
be next week.
Okay.
Hearing mixed reviews about it, but I still want to go in. Well, I'll go in with low expectations anyway. But I'm actually
Right.
hoping that this one is actually one of the better video game to movie adaptations that we've gotten, that we will get in this
Right.
decade or period, I should
Right.
say. But before we get into movies, well, actually, the movies or TV shows we're going to talk about actually. So first off, I will be talking about a miniseries that aired on BT, I believe it was last month, by the
Right.
name of Row Chronicles, which, if
Okay.
you haven't got
Nice.
it by title, is about the infamous hip hop label Death Row Records.
Right.
Following that up with a movie directed by your boy Alex Garland. It's a sci-fi horror flick.
Yeah.
Uh, we not, it was, I think it was supposed to have a theater. I think it had a theatrical release.
Yeah. It had
but then
a. There was
came
also
out
a
on
short
Netflix.
theatrical release, but it didn't make at all.
Yeah, and then right. Well, looking at it on Wikipedia right now, so it was
Yeah.
released.
So they sent it straight to Netflix after that, which
Yeah.
is financially a bad thing, but it doesn't reflect onto the quality of the film. Let's be clear about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that movie was released last month, and then it came
Right.
out this month in Netflix. That flick that we're talking about is Annihilation.
Yeah.
And we'll close things off with a review of a movie that a lot of people were very, very divisive of. Some people some people are saying that, this movie wasn't half bad, but some people saying that this is far from good, far from perfect.
Right.
Of course, I'm talking about Ava DuVernay's A Wrinkle in Time.
Right.
Yeah. But before we get into all that, couple of rest in peace shout outs. First
Yeah.
off to Craig
Yeah.
Mack.
Two very very big. Well, two reasonably big deaths related to us somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah. The death of Craig Mack.
Yeah, got that news. Got that
Yeah.
news actually Tuesday. Come to think of it, well, apparently he died on Monday, but
Okay.
I actually got the news online the following day, and
Okay.
boy, this was a loss. But this was a big loss. For those who don't know, Craig Mack is one of the original members of the Bad Boy family,
Yeah.
and he actually brought out his debut album, which is called Project Funk the World. This was right before the notorious B.I.G. brought out his Ready to Die album. And the funny
Right.
thing is that there was this gimmick that, okay, well, they're trying to hype both artists now. So
Right.
the gimmick was Big Mac.
Right,
And they
yeah.
had like the kind of McDonald's Big Mac sort of containers, those sandwich kind of container stuff to basically
Yeah.
promote both artists now.
Right.
But I mean, I would confess that Craig Mack is not the best, most lyrical of rappers out there.
Right.
But
He,
I
well,
will.
he does have one. The thing is, you only know him for one song, or at least, and probably one of the most famous remixes of all time.
Yes, one of the greatest of all time, in my
Yeah.
opinion, Flavor in Your Ear.
And, yeah.
Yeah. The thing is with him, like I was saying before, he's not the most lyrical MC out there. He had this sort of stream of consciousness kind of vibe where he would go into different flows, different styles. You know what I mean? And to the untrained eye, that may come off a little too off-putting. Might just be like, well, it's just a gimmick. You don't really show what it is you're doing. You're not really a real MC. But to me, in my opinion, what I really like about his style back then is that it really represented a really it represented something really authentic and true about rap music at the time. You had to come
Right.
different. You had to come unique. You can't sound like every other rap out there. Um, from the boy and the that kind of stuff that he used to do, his ad libs that make him really stand out. Especially if you listen to the original version of Flavor in Your Ear, you hear a lot
Yeah.
of those. But really and truly, he kind of rose to prominence with the remix to that song, Flavor in Your Ear remix, which,
Right.
like I said, is one of the best remixes ever. Notorious
Right.
B.I.G. killed it.
Yes,
Rampage
and it's
from
like one of the
Flipmode
best.
Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the best verses of Busta. One of the best verses of Biggie.
Yeah. Even
one of the
Rampage,
be-
the well.
one of the one of
yeah.
the strangest versions of LL Cool J.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't understand what he's be saying. Skeevy.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Who's that?
I don't know.
Whatever.
What's that?
Yeah,
I'm not too sure. I know he was going through his phase where it's like I wanna be the heartthrob, but I wanna be the hardcore rapper at the same time. I know he was going
right.
through that
Yeah,
phase in the early '90s, right? But really is that remix that kind of brought him to prominence there. And the album itself is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's one of the best albums I've heard from the Bad Boy, record label, but it's pretty decent. He had another song called Making Moves with Puff. That was a pretty decent
right.
song. Get Down was pretty decent as well. I love the remix with Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest. It's excellent. You should check it out. But it's ironic. It's ironic though that he never really came through with us with a solid sophomore album like Notorious B.I.G. and Lil Kim and a couple other a few other members of the Bad Boy roster did. He
Right.
more or less broke off from Bad Boy. He broke off from rap. He came back again with a song called Wooden Horse, which was pretty popular. It had a really unexpected sample from Frank Sinatra. Oops, there goes another rubber tree plant. It was just all over the
Yeah.
place. Yeah, and it was actually from the soundtrack to a movie that many people probably forgot existed called What's the Worst That Could Happen.
Right.
Yeah, people remember that movie for the next single that spawned, which was Eric Simmons' Music. Excellent song.
Right. Yeah.
Love
Right.
that song. But yeah, that song was from the soundtrack. He came back. Actually, he dropped some other singles, and like apparently he was supposed to come back with another album. Well, he hooked up with Eric Simmons actually to put out another album. Unfortunately, we're not too sure if it's gonna come out anytime soon because I believe in the process of making the album, he died. You know what I mean? And
Right.
from what I've heard, it was actually like heart failure, and also hearing through the grapevine, he kind of had this sort of foreboding sense that he was going to die anyway. Like I believe it was 6 months before he passed away. He
Right.
kind of knew that he was going to die eventually. So that's just really scary. And at age 46 too, which is really
Yeah, it's
shocking.
pretty young. Yeah.
Yeah. What I was just saying, closing is that while I honestly wish that his career could have blown up way more than it could have, especially with the fact that you were under Bad Boy Records at the time, and then also somebody else coming in, a newcomer by the name of Notorious B.I.G. blowing up way more than you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's just off of appearing off of your remix. But all that aside, though, he did leave, a legacy of his own, though. So I have to respect that all the same. And while I can't really say he is one of the greatest rappers of all time,
Right.
I don't want to say, well, maybe he should have worked harder enough to reach there. But we all go through different parts in life. He went through he left his mark. So for what it's worth, yeah, man. Rest in peace to Craig Mack. Flavor in your ear. Ha! You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, man. His music will live on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Who passed away? Actually,
Yeah.
really, really, really ironic. A day afterwards, legendary physicist,
Yeah.
cosmologist, author. Sorry, I was going to say author, sorry, Stephen William Hawking.
Yeah, that's probably one of the
Yeah.
biggest. Yeah, there's a big one. He's probably one of the brightest minds. That has ever, we've probably ever lived with or ever.
Of course, yeah, one of the most influential figures in
Yeah,
world
and
history.
the big thing about him is that he lived 50 years longer than he was expected to because he had a ALS for the majority of his life.
Right.
Which is like for lack of a better term, a borderline miracle. He is, again, personally I was never a big fan of his, but I totally acknowledge his recommendations and ideas when it came to theoretical physics. His ideas on what black holes are and how they operate.
Right.
He pretty much he's pretty much known for coining and discovering how black holes radiate away and eventually decay over time, and which we know as Hawking radiation.
Right.
He's heavily influential in mathematics as a teacher, as a science educator, as a public intellectual. And then the big thing about him is that he had ALS for 50 years of his life.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to die he was supposed to die in 1963 or something like that. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And he just lived that long, and so I can't be as a person who's on borrowed time by all workable prospects of medicine.
Yeah.
And with that 50 years, he spent it, in my opinion, very, very well in terms of just enlightening, us, our lifetime, and I would argue probably the rest of humanity for the future to come, on the cosmos and the life and the universe. And he's not to say he was just up in the clouds or above the clouds in his own head. He had a lot to say about politics and social life, and
Right.
he had a lot of great opinions in my opinion. I actually agree with that, almost all of them. Is really interesting. Him being a hero, him being a being paraplegic, right? Being disabled.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for to show you that you could be an important person and you could still contribute to life and be probably one of the greatest contributors because of your great mind.
Yeah.
It's not just your body, not just your not just physique, not just you're looking handsome or some bullshit like that. All of that is empty in the grand scheme when you think about it. But knowledge is the most important, and he's a person that I think really put that forward. Yeah, and when you think about it is a little jarring to think that one of the greatest, most intelligent people ever has passed.
Yeah.
So he's another person to rest in peace.
Boy.
He will be also very, very missed.
Right. Just one thing. Well, a couple of things I want to say also too. I really appreciate. Well, actually, me is actually still how relevant he was. Today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For one thing, there was a movie made about him called The Theory of Everything. Which starred Eddie Redmayne as
which was solid, which I thought was pretty good actually.
Yeah, although still to this day, this is just me being biased, I still don't understand how Eddie Redmayne could win a Best Actor with Academy Award for playing Stephen Hawking. Like at the time, I was making the joke that it's easy to play play Hawking, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the movie was what it was. I mean, I didn't hate it, but it was alright. And also, for a show, you kind of just don't care about at all. He made a couple of appearances in The Big Bang Theory. Actually, Sheldon Cooper and Leonard, more or less idolize him.
Pretty much any nerd show he showed up in. So he had a couple of cameos in Star Trek TNG. He had a couple cameos in I don't think he was in Stargate, but he was in a handful of sci-fi shows, like playing the version of himself in the past since it's occurring in the future.
Oh, that's cool. Like in Star Trek, he played himself.
He played himself, right?
Wow, that's awesome.
Little stuff like that. Yeah, and he had a bunch of little cameos here or there. He just show up as himself, but he's a hologram or something like that, because he's long dead by the time, and he's constantly name dropped and referenced in these sci-fis as well. Yeah, he's one of the greater, more influential minds.
Right.
So stuff like that. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's all basically. But his legend will live on definitely. In the world of science as well. What I would say though is that it doesn't hurt to be smart. Just continue to knowledge is power. So keep learning. Basically. And you never know how far you could go, basically. So rest in peace definitely to Stephen Hawking. All right, so now for some more happy stuff. Now we got to talk about the video that's currently #1 trending on YouTube at this moment. The second trailer for Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah, boy.
Boy. I actually found out about this Thursday night on Twitter. It's like, okay, trailer dropping on Friday. I was refreshing my YouTube.
So what happened? What happened to me, I overslept with this because I knew it was coming, but I overslept and I did. What happened, boy? I had to do something with some friends late night now, so it was like we did just kind of run. We do things late, get drunk late, and then come back home and then oversleep. So by the time I wake up, it was long done, post already.
Right.
So I didn't really see it when it was launch. But I just wake up to see it launch finally. I thought, cool. This trailer is pretty goddamn awesome.
Yes, it is. Yes,
I've been hyped. I've been hyped for almost every reason. Nice little jokes and lines. I'm on board. It's not all the other Marvel trailers, but it is like many of the other Marvel trailers. But this is the one we're waiting for. This is the grand finale. This is the big fireworks show. The big fireworks at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't be mad at the MCU for really getting to this point. This is roughly 10 years after Iron Man. It's the culmination of an arc essentially. Since the first Avengers. And I really, really want to see what they're going to do with this one. And, I really hope it lives up to the hype with this one. I mean, Ultron was a little bit of a letdown for me. But
it was for me too, actually. It was for other people, actually. But I wouldn't go as far as some people saying that it's one of the worst
No. I don't think it's even
movies.
Even amongst the MCU. Yeah, even amongst the MCU, it's not the worst. But it's still a bit letdown. I thought they should have done more with it, whatever.
True.
But this time, the Russells on board. And the Russells have been very, very good to us as filmmakers in terms of just general conscientiousness and showmanship. They know how to piece the stories, they know how to make it work, good dialogue, good structure overall. And yeah, what they did, this is the third movie they're doing, and I expect it to be solid. I really loved Captain America Civil War. I really love Captain America Winter Soldier, which I still consider the best of the MCU.
Same here.
Yeah, this one really looking great. They show little stuff. They reference the snap finger thing. They reference just a bunch of other little stuff that you'll notice from comic shit. And yeah, you see a little backstory involving Thanos and Gamora. You see a little shot with the hand.
Yeah, I actually love that shot though.
Yeah,
they show there's some heart to him.
Right,
and history with Gamora and him, of course.
Right, and then we've seen some potential foreshadowy death characters, maybe, right? Characters might die, not sure.
Yeah, and that's what. Just kind of cut you there for a bit. That's what a lot of people have been, speculating and discussing right now. At the time it's recording. Who is going to die? Will it be Thor? Because you've seen Thor be having his head pretty much squeezed by Thanos' big ass hand. Will it be Captain America because there was that last shot before you see the logo? Will it be Iron Man because there's a huge emphasis on Iron Man and his role in this whole thing? I still think that it's going to be Vision, because just
I suspect certain characters going to die, but we see certain characters who I didn't expect to see in trouble looking like they're in trouble. So that little scene with the needles with Doctor Strange, right?
Yes.
That was pretty badass.
And that character that was going however it was.
Right.
Is that one of Thanos' goons or something like that? I believe
he's a goon. He's one of the five. It's basically so I forget the names of all of them, but he's called Emily Moore. He's basically the wizard character amongst them. He's supposed to be capable of magic, not particularly strong or fast or anything like that, but he's basically perfectly designed to deal with Doctor Strange.
Okay.
That's what he essentially is. He's the one tailor-made to, because all of them. Basically, the idea is Thanos have a very specific style of attack going after the Avengers now. Yeah. And obviously, you have to go after if you think about it, you have to go after the two strongest, which is Vision and Doctor Strange.
Yes.
To be Vision and Doctor Strange is by far the two strongest in the run, so you have to take them out to the leader.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. This one, I expecting this one to be the dark one. It might even end up on a cliffhanger. I expect. Most people suspect that this is not a particularly interesting thing I'm saying, but I really wanted to just end like flat, like what a lot of people are saying, and I kind of expected and thinking that should happen too. Is that he do the snap finger thing? In the comic we know what that is, which is this cataclysmically disastrous event that Thanos caused, which essentially kill half the universe.
Right. And he does mention that in the trailer about killing, destroying half the universe, which sounds weird, but I guess when I see the movie,
it's not destroy half the universe, it's kill half of all people in the universe.
Oh.
So half of all people in the universe just vanish. Like they're gone. I don't know if they do exist and you don't remember them, or I forget how it was, because I haven't read that comic in like ages, but and the actual general story for Thanos kind of suck. I hope they change it, but they're basically just going to do the snap finger thing. I hope they do that. And I hope with Infinity War we don't get any post credit scene or anything like that. It's just like snap finger done, and you swear the way it done is like, all right, shit hit the fan. You really get the sense that Thanos going to win. The Russells look like the type they'll do that. They're the kind of guys that have not only have the creative wherewithal, but they also the creative freedom to do it. And I would like to see them really do something interesting with this. And action, I'm expecting it to be awesome.
Of course,
Black Panther and them looking like they're going to kick some ass again. Who else? We've seen Spidey in action, which looked great. And yeah, overall, I really genuinely hyped for this one. So let's get this man a shield and let start now. At point, just stay alive and make sure to get this done. Yeah, there's a great little bit with Tony and Doctor Strange. Sorry, not Tony, Peter and Doctor Strange.
Yes,
but we used made up names. That's a funny one.
Yeah, I really love that moment. One thing, I love the fact that that this trailer here incorporates more of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I love where first off you hear Gamora talk about Thanos. I thought that was great. Peter Quill talking to Tony Stark. I like how Tony just responding in this is just like, okay, I thought I was like the only douche here, and all this other guy trying to out-douche me. That's like what's going on here. Whoa, okay.
Right.
And of course, Drax is just like, okay, I don't want none of this. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
That kind of tell. I still don't know where Rocket Raccoon and Groot, what roles they'll play, but of course they're gonna find something for them.
I suspect what they might do is what I suspect might happen is that they'll split up the Guardians. So I feel Groot Rocket Raccoon maybe, and that's it. Will go with probably like Thor or something. Not sure. And then Drax, Gamora, and Peter will stay with the Earth Avengers. Because I feel it's implied that Thor has to do something to solve a problem out in space or something. I ain't sure we're going on at that. But the implication is that he's making a new weapon. He has to forge a new weapon since Mjolnir was destroyed in his movie with Thor 3 now. So I'm sure. Because I don't try to spoil this for me, but you're just so comic book savvy and genre savvy at this point that you can kind of workably piece together what they're gonna do. And it's a big blockbuster, so you expect it to be kind of predictable in that way.
Of course, I mean, a couple other things I really like too. The modification on Iron Man's suit.
Yeah, it looks
he's
great.
Flying off to the big giant giant donut.
Rockets at the back.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool as well. Of course, seeing Black Panther, reunite basically with Captain America, that was pretty cool as well.
Yeah.
Of course, when it throws down, in the second half, where you see the Hulkbusters going up against Thanos' evil army, I thought that was pretty cool.
Right, I'm sure who they are. I forget who they are.
Really looks good.
Yeah, I forget who they are exactly. Anyway.
Yeah, not too sure what they are actually. Well,
yeah, and the CG is improved from the last trailer with Thanos. Thanos looks much better in this trailer.
Yes, he does. Yeah,
the much detailed, better facial features, looking much better in my opinion.
Yeah, and speaking of that shot with Thanos and Cap, I really like that shot though.
Yeah,
I really like that. That's a nice little setup here. I don't know where it's gonna lead to. Like I said, we're not too sure if this is going to be the end of Cap for good. I'm not too sure, but that's a nice little cliffhanger within that trailer. And the little moment with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, that was pretty nice. That was a nice little kind of slight meta approach there. And of course that final shot with Spider-Man just flipping around and just looking all cool and everything. I really love that. So this one actually is a lot more exciting. It's a lot more, I don't want to say upbeat, but just more on the excitement, while the first one was more on the threat of Thanos and how important it is for these heroes to come together and how awesome it's gonna look, So I really, really, really love this trailer here as well, and I'm just glad that it's just less than 2 months again before we see it in glorious IMAX.
We have some big blockbustery shit to see before that, but I expect I'm really hyped for this one. I expect it to be solid. And I'm waiting for this one.
Right. So now we're going to move on to TV shows. In this case, I'm going to talk about a mini-series, documentary mini-series from BT. It's called Row Chronicles. And yes, this is about the infamous record label, Death Row Records, which was founded by the evil Suge Knight. Why I say evil is because they always paint this guy as being the villain, the bully, especially in those last two hip hop biopics that came out last couple of years. First off being Straight Outta Compton, second one was All Eyes on Me. And the funny thing is they got two different actors to play Suge Knight. I was always thinking, I remember we made that joke when we watched Straight Outta Compton, when we reviewed it actually a few years ago, and we said that they should set up their own kind of West Coast cinematic universe. So bring back Suge there, you know what I mean? That would have been cool, right? But this series basically goes into the beginnings of Death Row, and how it started, the reasons why and where it was back then, their influence, of course the controversy that sprung from this label, and then the outcome of it. So one thing that surprised me, like I kind of went in knowing what to expect. Like I know this is gonna be just like, for those who don't know anything about the history, or if you are familiar with them, it's just like basically a bunch of talking heads, which you do get a lot of people who, they were either rappers or they were former members of Death Row Records, or either they were an intern or they were a bodyguard, or just somebody who worked in that record label, friends of theirs, family members of theirs, just talking. And yes, you do get that here. But one thing that they also do, just getting this out of the way, that was pretty interesting. They do some reenactments, and how they do it was kind of clever, too. Because for one thing, they would show the clapper. So basically, a guy comes in and is like, okay, Death Row Chronicles, scene 1, take 1, clap. And then you'll see a reenactment take place. But the reason why there are reenactments here is, for one thing, especially centering around the character of Suge Knight, there are these quote-unquote urban legends about him.
Right.
none of which I've ever heard of before. But hearing them was pretty interesting. Well, for one thing, I think I was a little familiar with it. Was where this was around the time where Dr. Dre had left NWA and had joined with Suge Knight, and they created Death Row Records together. And there was the whole thing with just him trying to get his masters, the music that he created for them, and just a bunch of legal stuff that was going on there. And remember at the
Right.
time, Eazy-E was with Jerry Heller and with Ruthless Records at the time, so it was like them basically not wanting to give Dre back his stuff now before he moved. And apparently, well, this is how they say it. Apparently, Suge and his crew went into Ruthless Records. Eazy-E was there in the studio. They basically kind of had this guy at gunpoint, and they basically had had a piece of paper now, and then when he opened it out, Easy read it, and it was the address of his mother's home. So the
Right.
point
Right.
is like, yeah, if you don't give up this, then we're gonna go for your mom, and that's how he ended up
Right.
signing that contract now. Well,
Right.
and I think Easy went out and let the public know that yes, this is what happened. Another thing that they do is that they have they are these like frequent calls being made to Suge Knight, who currently at this moment is incarcerated now.
Right.
So he kind of debunks certain urban legends. He say, well, no, that didn't happen. I just went up,
Okay.
we talk. We say, well, here's what we had to come to a decision, so, and this is what happened. I didn't go in and put gun to no head and beat people up and blah 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 blah.
Right.
Another thing that I didn't even know about, I didn't even know about this until I watched the show. They talk about Vanilla Ice,
Right. Okay.
and apparently, well, his famous song "Ice Ice Baby" was written by a guy called Mario Johnson. He calls himself Chocolate, right? Apparently, he's a rapper and he was a ghostwriter actually for Vanilla Ice, right? So Suge at the time, who was he haven't even created his label yet. He at the time was just a bodyguard basically for Bobby Brown. We
Right.
would talk about that a bit as well, and then it was just about him getting into the music business now, so you understand that how record labels try to screw with the artists. Is like, well, here's what you put out this song, but we going to pay you less than you deserve. So Sugar was like, well, here's what, but Vanilla, this man write your song, Johnny. He wrote your lyrics. How come he's not being credited? How come he's not getting paid for his work? And another urban legend that sprung out of it is that Sugar and his crew went to Vanilla Ice's apartment and basically threatened him. And Sugar kind of called him outside, and then pretty much choked him and kind of leaned him over the balcony of the apartment, basically threatening to,
Right.
to drop him. And Vanilla went on public and said, "This is what happened." So Suge now and a couple other people associated with him come on and say, "No, that's not what happened. They just went by him, they talk, and it was like, well, here's what, we can't spend whole day here. Let me just come to this agreement. You're not gonna come out. You're not gonna." We kind of had to come out of this, with some kind of agreement, right? So that's how it's gonna be. So I don't know what is true, but I like that
Right.
the whole idea of the reenactment kind of makes you kind of wonder what is true and what is not. And once again, like I say, it kind of goes with the perception of Suge being this monster, this bully, right? This guy that you do not want to basically fuck with, right? Of course, Dre leaving and just discovering this guy, it was like a match made in heaven there. And of course, as we all know, their first album was The Chronic, which is still one of the greatest albums of all time. They mentioned how Snoop came into the picture. There was actually an episode dedicated to Snoop Dogg, how he came into Death Row. He used to be a drug dealer. He used to be a Crip, actually. And then, just all the legal drama he went through. Of course, that incident where his bodyguard shot one of Snoop's friends who's trying to kill, who's actually trying to shoot Snoop. And then, of course, that trial that happened, and that kind of sprung the song. Murder was the case that they gave me, and that was just this trial that was going on while Snoop's career was blowing up, right?
Right.
Of course, they jump into Tupac Shakur, who pretty much is one of the most iconic members of Death Row at that time. Well, of course, he wasn't with he didn't start off his career with Death Row. Of course, he was with Interscope Records. That's where he brought out his first album. But then, of course, him going through his stuff as well, getting in trouble with the cops. The cops had beat up on him one time, and they just basically go into the whole history of Tupac, which we got in footnotes basically with that All Eyes on Me movie, which came out last year. Yeah, as soon as he signed on to Death Row, that was right after they posted bail for him back in '95, and then the All Eyes on Me album came out. That was where his character completely changed. And then one thing they also mentioned too is that Suge Knight actually, well, this is one thing I didn't even know about, shame on me. He was affiliated with the Bloods too.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought it was kind of known. I don't know. You don't know that?
I don't know. It's just that I more concentrate on the rappers themselves. There's
Right,
so much
yeah.
about Suge Knight. Suge is just there in the background.
Yeah, he was a big time pyro
He was one
organizer.
of the pyros.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it almost kind of came off like Tupac kind of joined the Bloods basically, and I'll get into why.
That's a kind of interesting
speculation.
thing, because the problem with it is that even if you're just there by association, they used to kind of rope you in one time now, and that was kind of the problem. The thing is with Tupac's murder is that you ain't sure if it was just that simple. No,
Yeah,
it could have just
exactly.
that some simple bullshit, and they don't give a fuck about how famous you are. Pyro in particular has a notoriously just it's not like the mafia where you have some kind of working borders and organization. No. It's anybody who cross here out. No. That is kind of the problem. It's just to share borders by violence. That is kind of when you map out, the big gang violence in the United States, especially in the 90s. No. But that's why a massive distrust for Suge Knight in his own way. No.
Yeah,
Because of that,
exactly.
because he already don't know how deep he used to go. No.
Yeah,
It's really a problem in that way.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly the thing, because you don't know. Like, I know Tupac is a smart individual, but
Right.
how people would perceive the union between him and Suge now. It's almost like
Right.
Suge got kind of roped him into the world of the Bloods now, and he just kind of got engulfed into that lifestyle, So some of his friends had to speak out and say, they really did notice a change in character. It's like, well, wait, now he's not that revolutionary that he was kind of gearing up to be. Now he is this flossing rapper, just taking shots left and right at the haters, especially with the East Coast West Coast feud, which goes into the next episode. One thing they also mentioned too, this was like a pretty ironic moment, but I didn't even know that when the Million Man March actually began, when it sprung up.
Right.
This was around the time when Tupac was released from prison, right, where he got
Right.
bail. People assume that he would have been one of the people that would have shown up to speak his mind at that match.
Yeah.
But no, he was in Beverly Hills with Suge and his crew, basically shopping and having fun. What I mean? It's like, wow.
Well, the problem, that's the thing with the Million Man March. Million Man March was a largely politically contrived event.
Right.
The one of the problems, it was very, is once you have somebody like Louis Farrakhan as part of it, that is a problem.
Yeah.
So it immediately poisoned, the whole discussion. Even at the time, and even it was important, it's still. I think the Million Man March is a reasonably important event, but it's one of those things that was just so politically compromised, in my opinion. I could understand why you want to be part of it or even paying attention, as much as it was, and it wasn't even close to 1 million men. That's another dumb thing about it.
So ironic.
Right, yeah. So it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close from what I understand. It's not like, oh, well, it was kind of close. Nah, it was like, not even that close. I think it was like less than 300,000 or something, like really short like that.
Right.
You could probably correct me on the numbers. I'll look it up myself. But I don't remember it even being close to 1 million. So stuff like that was I could understand why you would ignore it, or somebody supposedly
it's clear that he just didn't care about it, but he had his reasons,
Right.
And then oh, well, he doesn't care for the black man, He had his reasons, you know what I mean? But yeah, very good point there. And then when we jump into the next episode, of course, which is about that infamous East Coast West Coast feud, they go into detail about what happened. Also, they bring up Puff Daddy's supposed involvement with the Southside Crips, which kind of brought another layer to the whole feud itself. Because when Tupac got shot and died a few days later, Suge, of course, was pissed off at the time, and then there was like, I think it was like 3 to 5 days of just this war between the Crips and the Bloods, because
Yeah.
the Crips would assume, the Bloods would think, the Crips would do it. So there was that kind of war between those two. Now, it wasn't just about the rappers themselves, but also the gangs that they may or may not have represented. They also talk about just how they kind of took shots at each other. For one thing, Snoop Dogg and the Dog Pound, when they went into New York to film
Right.
that controversial New York video.
Yeah.
So it's all these little things that kind of led to this feud, and then of course how the media spun it. Like, oh yes, it's really about Biggie and Tupac. It's about Suge Knight and Puffy. You know what I mean? It's all these things that it's just the media feeding into it. But then as one guy, I think he's not Jimmy Iovine. Actually, he does show up, but there's another guy who works at Interscope. He was saying, well, a white guy, by the way. He was saying that it was really anything they could do about it. It's just, well,
Yeah.
we don't control these artists now. They go in here and do what we want, but we are label. We all concerned about selling records. I mean, we can't just step in and tell them, hey, stop fighting. We can't do that. So I thought that was pretty interesting here. Of course, that goes into, like I mentioned before, Tupac's death. The reason behind it. That moment that took place at the MGM Grand. That fight that took place and the aftermath, of course. And then it leads on, of course, to the Notorious B.I.G's death. And how that pretty much just kind of shook the hip hop world now. There was like a ceasefire between that whole East Coast West Coast thing, and at the time, Suge Knight was arrested actually for an incident that took place in his studio where apparently he beat up some guys that were working in the studio with him. Around that time, of course, Dr. Dre left. He formed his own label, Aftermath Records. Snoop, who was supposed to lead on the Death Row family while Suge was arrested, he kind of just got fed up. Reason being is because he found out he wasn't getting, well, if all the artists actually weren't getting paid the right amount of money that they were supposed to.
Right.
So he was like, yeah, to hell with that, I gone. And then he signed on with Master P and No Limit Records, and the rest is history from there. And the final episode, of course, it kind of reminds me of like that final chapter of OJ Made in America, which was my favorite movie of 2015. Or was it 2016? I think it was 2016 actually.
That's 2016 if I remember.
Yeah, 2016, because 2015 was Mad Max Fury Road. How could I forget? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like where, this is where Suge Knight just goes rock bottom. He comes out of jail, he's broke, but he kind of just ends up in a whole set of shenanigans. There's actually a moment where he kind of ran over two guys with his car. All kind of man, this thing went to, but I just really looking at it. I just see how the label ultimately went bankrupt. It's just like, jeez, man, because that image of them just flossing and partying all day and just making records and all that kind of stuff, and then to lead to this, it is sad when they think about it, sad in a way, like, if they weren't on that gang shit, things would have been a lot better. But because Suge ultimately wanted to bring that street life into the record business, because he wanted to be part of the street, just like what happened with Tupac, and then look what happened to him. Same thing. Well, that same thing happened to Suge, but there are consequences to that, unfortunately. And we see that with Suge. We see, like I said, record label being bankrupt, and now he's incarcerated now for all kinds of stuff. And so pretty much I just kind of gave a full summary about what that whole miniseries is about. But I learned a lot from it. There were some things I was familiar with, but other things that I honestly did not know. And that's not a bad thing, to be honest. That's the reason why I went into the show, to learn more about what happened, learn more about their influence, learn more about the beginnings of Death Row, how they managed to tune out two classic albums, The Chronic and Doggy Style, from Snoop Doggy Dogg, what he was called at the time, and then all the shenanigans that happened afterwards with Tupac and Biggie and all that stuff. So I love to see stuff like that. When it came to certain artists, unfortunately you don't see Dr. Dre being interviewed. It's not like the HBO miniseries that I mentioned last year, the Defiant Ones, which was really great as well. But as far as Death Row artists go, Corrupt is interviewed. Danny Boy, who sung a lot of hooks for Tupac, especially in his All Eyes on Me album, he's being interviewed as well. Michelle
Right.
was interviewed in this, and yeah, but she still have that squeaky voice. That's something that still never left with her. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Lifetime is supposed to be doing a biopic about her
Okay.
and her, tumultuous relationship with Dr. Dre, because they do mention it, how abusive he was, and then, well, he blames it on alcohol, and then where he kind of realized that the alcohol was just kind of messing up his life. He quit, and then that's when he left Death Row and just started over, basically. So I don't know where
Right.
we're gonna get that movie. I hope that they don't really paint Dre as this evil person as well. I really hope they don't do that. But anyway, yeah. So she's interviewed. Suge's ex, actually, who was Snoop's manager at that point in time. She was interviewed prominent. You saw her prominently throughout the series as well. And if it's that current interviews that we see in the series here, we also see some archival footage. We see a lot of MTV News interviews with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. We see the typical archival footage that we've seen of Tupac hundreds of times already. The stuff where, the young Tupac, the one where he came out of jail, all that kind of stuff you see. Him on the set of California Love, we see all that stuff.
Right.
It's just like all the goodies basically here in this one series. I love the pace of it. I love the music. They do this nice little transition where you will see current locations, like you will see Los Angeles, you will see Las Vegas, you will see where Death Row Records was, and then you will just kind of cut back to how it used to be back in the days. I thought that was like a really cool thing that they do. And for what it's worth, this series did what it was supposed to do. It just more or less gave you as much info as possible
Yeah.
about Death Row Records, about the lives of the individuals that were involved there. It didn't feel like a Wikipedia page, where you're just reading all that kind of stuff. You do get a lot of perspectives, a lot of point of views, especially with the question of all questions: who killed Tupac? Who shot at Tupac?
Right. Right.
One particular guy was about to say something, but and the excuses, well, you don't snitch and all that kind of stuff. Even Suge say he kind of have a feeling he know who shot Tupac, but it's like, well, I ain't gonna snitch, right? So one guy in particular, I think under law, for some reason, he is not allowed to reveal the identity of the person or persons who killed Tupac.
Right.
In an interview, and I thought that was like pretty interesting.
Okay. So not okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that was pretty
I
weird.
don't know. I was not clear on that, but whatever.
Yeah,
You say so.
yeah. So wow, that's like a nice little loophole there. But like you could bring him into the show, He could talk
Right.
about the stuff, but he can't tell you about. He can't.
Like
answer
I
that
just get the
question.
feeling. I just get the feeling his lawyers just say not to do that.
Yeah,
Nice. Not like it's our. I don't think it's our law necessarily or some kind of.
yeah.
You know.
It's some kind of legal stuff. I'm not too sure what it
Okay.
is.
It does seem like an informed thing. Like you say, okay, it's not recommended by his lawyers to say.
Yeah.
Right.
And on the subject of that, well, I also have to mention USC series is going on right now, which I hope to check out and do a review for, called Unsolved: The Murders of Tupac and the Notorious B.I.G. So
Right.
I know that show in particular is going to touch on that theme, of course, as in who killed Tupac, who shot Biggie, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, for what it's worth, the series here did what it was supposed to do. The episodes are like about fairly like short. They're like 45 minutes. They don't run for too long, but you do get you do get a good chunk of information in each episode. And what I felt like, I would say like the first and second episodes and the last episode were a little sluggish. Well, reason being is because, well, the first episode is about Suge's life, basically, when he was born and how he was born and raised, and the stuff that he went through as well. And then the
Right.
last episode being about Suge again, and the outcome of Death Row Records. They do kind of feel a little bit sluggish, because it's ultimately at the end of the day about him. But then that kind of makes sense because he did start the label, and you could say he is the reason to blame for all this kind of stuff, for all this stuff that kind of happened to Death Row Records as a whole. We could argue for these, but yeah, he is kind of the one who is at fault here. But yeah, for what it's
Right.
worth, I really dug this. If you are a hip hop head, you definitely need to check this out. If you know a majority of these things here, well, props to you. You know a lot of about West Coast music. But for me, and this is not because I prefer East Coast music more, that's just my preference, but still, I just love to learn more about just the lives of these rappers, these people that I listen to and go back to, on a regular basis. I love to learn the history about them, especially they come up, how they started off from nothing and then they created great music basically, right? So I love that kind of stuff. If you know little to nothing about this will be a nice, introduction into that world. You'll learn a lot from this series. And if you've seen stuff like All Eyes on Me and Straight Outta Compton, then yeah, you will feel right at home with this show. This will be like a nice refresher course into that, history. So for me, this gets a strong 3.5 out of 5, man. I say you should definitely check this out. It's 6 episodes long. It runs basically, if you were to binge it, about 4.5 hours basically. But yeah, it just comes and goes. You'll learn a lot. You'll be entertained, especially when you hear your popular the favorite songs like "Ain't Nothing But a G Thing" or Snoop Dogg, "What's My Name," all the big hits you hear throughout. And you also do this really cool thing where you hear the samples, the original songs that were used, like for example, the from California Love. They do all those things. Is really, really cool. So yeah, whether you're a hip hop head or not, if you really want to learn more about that records and Suge Knight and just the influence of the West Coast in terms of rap music in the 90s, then yeah, by all means check out BT's That Row Chronicles.
Okay, nice.
All right,
that was a nice review.
Yeah, thank you. Right.
Yeah. When I'm having second thoughts about this life and feeling left out, I hit the blunt deep, release and let the stress out. Dreaming, looking at the tangerine secret, a sweet taste to help me mellow out. Right through my weekend, I'm chill like that. When I step into the room, it smell good like that. Boom, product I be pushing in the streets, never pushing up the feed. Cause you profit off of me, do that chump shit is weak. Always working with that real green, can't mess with Bobby Brown. I be smoking all that day by day, quarter like a pound every minute. Cause I stay high when I'm blazing rhythms, digging records and creating that heat. What? Making money and achieving my peace. All heart, good spirit, that's what makes me. I'm trying to live life free and plant my tree. Cause a world without weeds, no L-O-V-E. So just inhale, breathe deep, relax and live. 2 puffs, now hit this and pass that again. Yo, 2 puffs, now hit this and pass that again. 2 puffs, now hit this and pass that again. Just inhale, breathe deep, relax and live. 2 puffs, now hit this and pass that again. Yo, 2 puffs, now hit this and pass that again. 2 puffs, now hit this and pass that again.